and at this OR Tambo Airport. What are the opportunities for those who are in the tourism industry, and really Aerotropolis Master Plan talks to that. The acceleration of the IZZ and SCZ program, the special economic zone just behind the airport, the OR Tambo SCZ. At number 4 is the land availability for strategic development. What are we doing with the land that is in our own hands? We've got 40 strategic land parcels, both brownfields and greenfields, that we need to give to our communities for catalytic and strategic development. We've got land for agriculture, we've got land for our township economy. At number 5 is the support for SMMEs through public procurement. The budget that we're talking about today, how much of that budget assists us to stimulate the regional economy? Whether there's infrastructure projects on the roads, on the energy, and across, including SMME development, including some of our empowerment for some of our, designated groups. Implementation of the township economy. It becomes important that we look at our economy in the township and ensure that there are strategies to actually develop that economy, enable public transport system, have a public transport that supports the regional economy, that takes our communities from their homes to places of work, and that's what we're doing with our BRT. We're connecting currently the community of Tembisa to the industrial centers of Isando, Spatin, Airport, Boksburg, all the way to Vosloorus. That's the first phase. And other phases, they should be able to connect our road, Jimistin, Boksburg, so that there is connectivity within our space. And this we do to support economic growth and development. The massive infrastructure investment will continue to attract investment, will continue to position the city as an ideal place for investment and growth. We'll continue to ensure that, be it is government or is private sector led, that there's land, that land is serviced, and that the cost of doing business within our space is actually competitive. We promote localization and local production, that our programs, the Black Industrialist and all those type of intervention, the different incubations are geared and ensuring that we've got localization and local productions. And skills and competitive capacity development becomes the last one, because we have to ensure that we've got a skilled community to support the regional economy. And I think it's important that all sectors, in particular the business sector, they continue to support the call by the leadership of the city, our Executive Mayor Mzwandile Masina, for the University of Ekurhuleni, a University of Applied Sciences, a University of Innovation, a University of Engineering, that support tailor-made, to support industries. We continue to do our part to invest in the bursary programs to ensure that our people are taken through internship and other work readiness programs. So do we think that with this program we've done very well, and it will indeed contribute to the sustained growing economy, but also to the much needed jobs for our people. Importantly is commitment to good governance, because we have to assure the business communities that everything that we do, a fundamental principle is that we must commit to doing things the right way. The budget that we're talking about will be committed and spent observing all the principles of good governance. And this we have done by ensuring that we've got a stable leadership in the city. I mean, comparable to other metros, we have been able to forge a coalition government, and that coalition government has been stable throughout. We have a stable legislature with its oversight committees. We have a stable council. We also have a stable executive political leadership, the mayor and the mayoral committee. We have a stable administration. with competent civil service under the leadership of the accounting officer. We've got our group CFO, chartered accountants who are able to look into our books and ensure that everything goes accordingly. We've got the stable engineers who are able to look at in project management capacity to ensure that we deliver the right service to our people. We have to implement effective internal controls and ensure that we are compliant with all the laws and regulations, and that functioning fraud and corruption reporting mechanism and processes are actually in place. We have pride ourselves that we've achieved 3 unqualified audit opinion, which is a maximum according to audit standard. But of course, we've also been able to meet the clean audit standard as set out by our government. We have established effective governance structures to provide assurances. We have ensured that we've got 0 unauthorized expenditure, 0 fruitless, and 0 wasteful expenditure. We've also ensured that we perform on capital budget spending, and we have spent this on impactful and visible service delivery. We have ensured that we've got credible and quality financial reports and also other performance information. And this is important because as business, when you look into your municipality, you should and look at in the books of the municipality, including other stakeholders. They should at all the times be assured that the information that they are relying on, either for growth projections and other analysis that you need to do, but the information is actually of quality and credible. But we want to look just quickly on the service delivery achievement. What is it that we have done in the last 5 years? In the roads and stormwater, we've spent approximately 1.6 billion rands. We've built and maintained over 13,000 kilometers of roads network. That's a huge network. If you can imagine it, to fly from South Africa to the United Kingdom is about 12,000 kilometers. So you can imagine the type of network that we've actually have in our space in the city of Ekurhuleni and the amount of money that we've actually spent. And over 52,000 stormwater drainage system. This we notice in the Albertina Sisulu Expressway. You can actually see the type of, along the R21, some of the work that we're doing in Pomona, some of the work that we're doing in Ranvenswood. There's a number of projects that are actually taking place in our CBDs, in our industrial areas, in terms of ensuring that we maintain proper roads and stormwater infrastructure. On the health services, we've got 8 clinics that render 24-hour services. And of course, we've also built 5 new clinics. And we must also appreciate the input of business during COVID, the hard lockdown, when we were operating the food banks, and through the contribution of business communities, we've distributed over 32,000 food parcels at a cost of 10.6 million. And we must really appreciate all those who have actually put in the hand and ensured that our communities, they don't remain hungry during the most difficult time. Water and sanitation, we've got an Aqualip program. It's an 8 billion program, which has got a number of programs. In the reservoirs, we're building about 29 reservoirs. And this is to support the industrial growth. This is to ensure that as our city grows, we actually have enough water, but also for water security during difficult times of climate change, where we've got certain challenges with the sustainability. We have to ensure that our water supply and infrastructure is able to stand the test of time. Going to other in the waste management area, keep Ekurhuleni clean. We've got a number of interventions there. We do collect the waste, on time. We've rolled out the 2040 liter bins. We continue to have programs of recycling that includes communities, but also we've got programs now that, with our, partnership with energy generation companies to ensure that we have projects such as waste to energy and other alternative energy programs. On human settlements, we've got 16 mega projects in our space: SLN Park, Tembisa Extension 25, Lowport, John Dube. All these are mega cities of modern times, mixed use, closer to the places of work. And we've really put up over 210 housing opportunity. It means we've prepared the land to enable those housing opportunity to actually be built. On transport, currently we just added another 10 buses to actually add capacity in the line between Tembisa and OR Tambo, and we'll also be doing an extension to areas like Isando, Spartan, and also Boxback. We continue to ensure that on the energy, we put up investment to ensure uninterrupted electricity provision. The type of investment over 283 million that we've invested in upgrading the network in infrastructure in Jimiston area, including other areas in our road, in Boxburg, in Benoni, just to ensure that our industrial and business communities are actually supported over and above the investment that we're doing in electrifying informal settlement. The solar programs and the HIMARS programs are actually being rolled out in our space as part of ensuring that the city remains elite. We've spoken about the mayoral bursaries, over 470 million rands to take over 9,000 students to universities. And this is one of the key areas that we take pride of in ensuring that we invest in skills, for economic development purposes. We've got a number of investment in the pipeline. We spoke about this 11 strategic urban development. We will be releasing, we've started to release the strategic land parcels. We're calling on investors to look out on the newspapers, including our website, on those parcels, because it is investors that can actually, ensure that, the land that we actually have is used for, to grow our economy. On the community safety and the disaster, we've built 5 precincts for Ekurhuleni Metropolis Department in Zonkizizwe, in Xhakaza, in Bonoro Park, in Kempton Park, in Tembisa. We spent about 110 million rands there. We've also built another 5 fire stations at a cost of about 310 million rands. We are also investing in additional, police officers on the street. The budget that we have spent since 2016-17 is actually 7.25 billion rands in maintaining our infrastructure in repairs and maintenance, and we also spend on our capital infrastructure program 23.75 billion rands. But moving forward, just to quickly recap on what is our plans for the next 3 years, but briefly, just to refresh our minds, what do we mean by capital budget? Is that portion of the budget that we use to fund infrastructure needs, such as construction of roads, clinics, libraries, the electrical infrastructure, the substations that we have to build. And by operating budget, we refer to the day-to-day activities of the city, such as buying, electricity from Eskom, water from rainwater, some of the repairs and maintenance, when we do grass cutting, when we maintain the parks and recreational facilities. Now we'll look at the details of the capital expenditure, of a capital budget. Just briefly, we're looking at the details of the capital budget. Yeah. Just before, we are actually planning to spend 4 billion rands, or 3.96 billion rands on the capital budget. This capital budget is broken down into our internally generated funds. It means a portion of the capex budget is funded from our own money, but another portion is funded from the grants that we receive from the provincial and national government. But it is not always enough, our own money and the grants. In particular now, because of the pressures of COVID, we then have to go to the capital market to actually borrow. And we're borrowing in this regard. We're planning to borrow about 1.4 to actually make up the entire 4 billion rands. So this money, we actually spend it in various programs in different departments. That includes in the water and sanitation. You can actually see there over 665 million rands will actually be spent to continue to roll out the reservoirs, to roll out the water pipeline, to roll out the sewer and waste treatment works in the human settlements, about 628, to ensure that there is a provision of houses for our people. In the energy space, over 400 million rands, to ensure that we refurbish substation, but also build capacity to cater for the growing city. In transport and planning and provision, to ensure that we've got municipal buses, the BRTs actually rolled out. Information and communication and technology, we're rolling out currently a safe city, to ensure that we roll out cameras across the city to ensure surveillances in roads for the new construction of roads, about 336 million rands. Real estate. So all those programs there are programs that are actually planned for and will be delivered in the next financial year, including the two outer years. And this is our commitment, really, to ensure that we do invest in infrastructure development in our space, and this will support the growing city. And of course, this program is funded, as I've shared above, through different funding mix, our own revenue, some of the grants that we're actually receiving from national and provincial government. But of course, we have to go to the capital market to get the loans. And the OPEX, turning to OPEX, we are presenting a 42.86 billion, for consultation. And of course, this is generated 37.98 of that revenue is generated from internal means. It means that which we levy to our communities and business communities in the main and get paid for. For property rates, what we know as assessment rates, 6.68 billion rands. For electricity, 17.69 billion rands. For water and sanitation, 7.85 billion rands. For refuse removal, 1.49 billion rands. And other income is sitting at about 4.27 billion rands. Other income refers to some of the traffic fines that we have to, levy some of the, when you rent some of our facilities, all that actually generate us that 4.27 billion rands. And the government grants in the area of operating expenditure totals to about 4.88 billion rands. Tariff increases. What are the main tariff increases? And I think this is an area that our communities and business communities, you actually pay much interest to. On the sanitation, the increases that we're presenting is 8% for domestic customers and 17% for industrial customers. And this is important that we must spend time on. ERVAT, which is the wastewater treatment company, for over 10 years or so, we've not been able to invest in new plants. So we are currently having a major program to ensure that we actually build that capacity to ensure that we purify, the various waste, and ensure that we treat that waste and that it doesn't spill into the rivers and so forth. So that is the one of, including the cost of the chemicals, which have actually shown a significant increase. In the area of water, we've got about 8% increases. This is what we get from the rainwater, and we have to pass it to our communities. In the area of energy, there's 14.59, between 14.59 and 17.8%, subject to NERSA guidelines. And in the property rates, there's 0% increase there that we are, passing or proposing to pass to our communities, and 7% increase in the space of refuse removal. The other sundry tariffs includes the library and information services. There are no increases there. The use of our auditoriums, there are no increases. But for cemeteries, we've got 10% increases there. And really, we've been putting up a lot of investment in the area of maintaining and upgrading our cemeteries. And for the past 4 years, we've not increased those rates. But we now have to ensure that we recover some of the cost. And we're also putting up, ICT technology there to ensure that, we automate that space. And then building plans with an average of about 4% increases. For our arts, culture, and heritage facilities, there is no increase there. For sports and recreation, this is for those facilities that are used for commercial purposes, like our Makulong Stadium, which is used by the Premier League, Premier Soccer League. There's 4.5% increase. In the higher of parks, these are parks that are used for, festivals and other, commercially related events. There's 4.1 increase, but also for our buses, we're proposing a 4.15 increase there. What are other things that we are doing, which are multi-year, which are cutting across the city? We continue to roll out the digital city, service project, and I think this will go a long way in assisting business to ensure that there's connectivity. It's an area that we want to commercialize and ensure that its cost is actually reduced. There's a Safe City program to roll out surveillance across the city. There's Harambe. There's other upgrading of the water networks. There's a metering programs. All these programs are aimed at ensuring that we are actually build a resilient city that is able to meet the modern standard, but that is also able to meet the growing needs, both residential growth and also business growth. And importantly, we commit to continue to ensure that we cut the grass, we deal with potholes, we deal with water leakages, we keep our roads well maintained, and that the facilities of the city, including the halls, are well looked after. Just on energy matters, because I think it's important that we also spend, or we emphasize this area for business and industry. That according to NERSA guidelines, we have to buy electricity at 17.8%. That is from Eskom. That's how much local authorities and ourselves as a city government were actually buying electricity for. But we're only passing 14.59%, in particular in the business tariff between IBT A and IBT-E. IBT refers to inclining billing tariff. It means the more you consume electricity, the more your tariff. And this is according to the NERSA guideline. Furthermore, there's fixed charges that we're actually putting across. But what is important is that we are at 17.8% and we're only allowed to pass 14.59. It means we must then identify, cost-saving initiative to actually absorb the difference to the benefit of our communities. But the fixed charges for tariff A in business, these are our SMMEs. There's an increase there of about up to 200 rands that we have to buy. This is just to ensure that our operations, our admin, and so forth continue to ensure that if there's an outage, we actually attend to that outage on time. On tariff B, residential and bulk, we have to increase to about 52 rands. And tariff B, which is mixed use, mixed business, commercial and industrial, it has to increase to about 200 rands as well. There are other initiatives that we are busy looking at in terms of finalizing the tariff. For instance, what we call wheeling. And wheeling, it means if you are an IPP, you are an independent power generation, but you have to use our electrical infrastructure to actually transport your power to the end customer. So there is a fee there that we must actually pay. But importantly, for those that are putting solars, are putting alternative energies in their properties, there's also a fee there that we must actually levy, because you still have to utilize our electrical infrastructure to actually get that service. Of course, you still rely on some of the services that you're actually getting from the government, whether it's street lights, whether it's some of the tars, whether it's some of the cost in some of the services that we're offering in roads and so forth, that we have to pass to you as a consumer. And lastly, it is important that we make the inputs, that we get the document. The full document is available on our website. This is a summary of what is contained in the document. If you go to ekurhuleni.gov.za, there's an IDP there. You actually get a full document detailing in details all these programs that we actually spoke about here today. You can visit our pay points, our libraries. You can also submit your input via our email budgettips@ekurhuleni.gov.za. The timelines between now and the 29th of April, please ensure that you actually submit those inputs. But I'm sure we will be taking up some inputs for discussion. Thank you very much, Program Director, for the opportunity.
Thank you, MMC, for the Like the zero property rates part as a resident as well. Although I know there is evaluations this year, so I think we are good. This is the time that we're going to take questions, and after questions, then we'll just explain the process going forward. Where to from here? There are two at the moment that have come across. As we are aware, this is actually live streaming our Facebook, our Twitter account as well. So the first one is to UMMC. When will COE help with jobs? COJ, apparently, they are doing a lot in this part, creating jobs. The second one talks to, as we are aware, with the digital age that we're in and the COVID regulations, Wi-Fi connectivity in new areas. So they just need to understand the rollout of Wi-Fi so that they are connected to some of the methods. So for now, those are the two that I have MMC, and I will keep getting some. Thank you.
Yeah, no, in the area of jobs and job creations, I must say, though the city is not really in the business of creating jobs, our core services is to ensure that there is electricity supply uninterrupted, or in case of an interruption, it is attended to timely, that there's water supply to our communities, that we do collect waste, that we do grass cutting. So those are the basic services. But we also have to ensure that as we roll out these opportunities, jobs opportunities are created to our people. So the infrastructure build program is also able to create those job opportunities, able to create, to contribute towards the growing city. That, of course, those opportunities are given to those service providers who themselves are able to create and sustain jobs. Of course, the city also is a major employer. We employ over 24,000 people, and those opportunities are available online at www.ekurhuleni.gov.za. We've eliminated the human hand and ensured that everything is actually automated. But importantly, we are also investing in the regional economy. Some of the investment that we're talking about, some of the money that we put in preparing the land for investment, some of the efforts that we do to go outside and do investment in our space is to ensure that eventually there are jobs, for our people, that the private sector is able to assist us to actually create jobs. So we do connect, roll out the fiber. It's been rolled out to across the city, in the areas of Kempton Park, in the areas of Tembisa, in the south, Jimistin, Katehong, Boksburg, Vosloorus, even in the east, Benoni, Nigel, Springs, Etwatwa, Daveyton. So all these areas are actually connected. But where we connect to facilities of the city, in our local clinics, in our local customer care center areas, in our local libraries. We have to ensure that there's connection. We are currently in engagement with Gauteng Education to ensure that the connection goes to schools in our localities, and that some of the industrial centers or the business hubs that we actually have in our communities are actually connected.
Thank you, MMC. There's another question that also came. It's about water. Our water is dirty and our bins are not collected. I strongly urge the people asking questions to also add the details so that you can assist to actually solve the matter. Because in the absence of that, it just makes it
Yeah, let me agree that it would be nicer if, as you make an input, you also put your name and your contact, including the area, because the city of Ekurhuleni continues to supply clean water, and this is by industry standard. We continue to get the green drop. The green drop is the highest award that you get, which measures the quality of the water supply that we actually provide. So what comes out of the tap in the city of Ekurhuleni is guaranteed to be the most cleanest. It will be interesting to know which particular area the caller, or the community comes from. And the bins are not collected, and we must say it without fear of contradiction that we've got calendar of waste collection across the city, and this happens without fail. On the dedicated day, our trucks are out there to collect waste, and where for reasons beyond our control, there's been a disturbance to collect on a particular day, we always ensure that within that week, the following day, we actually collect waste. Of course, we've experienced where there's been an industrial action by our employees, which is permitted by law, that employees can engage in an industrial action. We always ensure that we come out with an alternative measure to ensure waste collection happens. Seated here, I can guarantee that across the city, waste collection happens, and it happens as per the calendar that has been communicated. Of course, if there is a particular area, it will be advisable that you share that detail so that we make the necessary follow-up. Thank you.
Thank you, MMC. There's other additional questions. One is, will we be receiving the presentation? That is one. The second one is, with the number of, both from Anonymous, the other one is, with the number of skilled workers leaving South Africa, what is Ekurhuleni doing to ensure that the necessary skills are maintained, developed to fulfill the future needs? I'll take those two for now, MMC.
Yeah, well, I'm sure the presentation will be available for all those that are registered. And the presentation really is a summary, as I've said, of the IDP and budget book that is available online, is available in our libraries and customer care centers. But we'll make, of course, the presentation available to those who are registered. I suppose that your details, as you were registering, you did put your details in there. The skills program, leaving the country, we are hoping that with our skills, with the investment, rather attraction and retention that we're actually doing, that indeed that investment is able to ensure that we grow our economy, that there's more industries in our space, that the skills that we have is able to apply their trade in those centers, and that's how far we could go. But I think it's important that we emphasize the need to build a skill, but a relevant skill. That is why in our call for university, we are hoping to get a university that produces a skill for our region economy, a skill in the area of logistics, in the area of engineering, in the area of innovation, the area of technology that is relevant to actually be engaged by our industrial economy. Of course, as a city government, we do our part to ensure that those engineers that are qualified are competent when we've got an opportunity to actually absorb them. And currently, we have competent capacity But whenever there are opportunities, we actually engage that skill in our projects.
Thank you, MMC. There's additional 2 questions which I will share. The water pressure in Edenville is too low, up to a point where insurers do not want to insure our buildings unless we install the tanks. And the second one that comes along with that one is in Cllr and Xhakaza. It's about Wi-Fi. When is the program getting to those areas?
Yeah, we currently don't have problems of water or infrastructure related programs in Edenvale. Of course, we are aware of some of the challenges at Randwater. There was a threat of an industrial action, but we're assured that there won't be any challenge. And it's something that we'll have to look at, in particular, head of strategy seated here next to us, including the high-lying areas in Ekurhuleni. We continue to ensure that there's a sustained, uninterrupted, supply of water. But of course, we'll have to pass it to our water engineer. We've got a depot there that will look into that. And I'm sure seated here, some of our teams are already, making that follow up. The rollout of Wi-Fi fiber in Cllr is currently ongoing. We do that rollout there to the local centers of government. There is connectivity there, but we also are in partnership with, private sector who are also rolling out, that infrastructure in the areas of the south across all the townships: Cllr, Xhakaza, Vosloorus.
MMC, there's also another few that came along. One is BRT in Vosloorus. When will it start? That is one. The second one is hope you're not increasing bus fares as buses are standing in Primrose. Okay.
We want to have when will BRT arrive in Vosloorus? We have just added another 10 buses to augment the line into the airport. And one of the strategy that we wanted to actually roll out, or the directive from the mayor into the bus or BRT project, was that we must move away from the infrastructure heavy, too reliant on the infrastructure, to more operational. And I think the next step will be to activate the line between the airport, Boksburg, and Vosloorus. And I'm certain that will happen in this round of budget. So it means within this MTREF period, we should see more buses connecting Boksburg or airport Boksburg and Vosloorus. And of course, we can't. There is an increase in the gas. I mean the diesel, the cost of running the buses, and we have to ensure that we actually recover that cost. Hence, we are only proposing about a 4.15% increase in the bus fares. Of course, this is the public participation process. The public is allowed to actually input, but we have to back it up, with, and I know the caller or the member of the community is referring to buses lying around in Primrose. We must say that currently, because of COVID and all that, our buses has not been fully operational, but with the lifting of the alert levels in terms of COVID regulations, we're getting more buses on the road. So very soon the country will be fully opened, and we should have all the activities back to normality.
MC, the last two questions from our Facebook that we can take. Paul asked the question: we have a theater in Germiston, but there is no access, and there is a lot of wasted talent. What programs we're running as a city on that? The second one is coming from Mahlangu on Facebook. The question is: we log incidents online through the app, and complaints are closed without being sorted.
Yeah, the Germiston Theatre and many of our arts and recreational facilities were highly impacted by COVID. You would know that only just recently that we are allowed to have certain activities indoors, but with a limited number or up to 250, social distancing and all those measures. So only now we're beginning to open up, our theaters, including the recreational facilities, the parks. They've been on a hard lockdown, and only now we're beginning to actually open them. And we want to encourage young people, the associations, the various forums that are organizing young people in sports, in arts, in recreation, to begin to make use of these facilities. But of course, be COVID conscious all the time, because it's important that we organize and mobilize the youth. We mobilize them away from other activities, and we take them and engage them in positive activities. The app, we are constantly monitoring the app, and we actually ensure that there is regular reports to the mayoral committee about the performance of the app. It also includes how many issues have been logged, and then how many issues have actually been attended to, and whether there's been a follow-up on those issues. So it is important that if you are not happy, your issue has not been resolved, you actually escalate it, you report it back, and we are able to pick up on those instances and ensure that we only close matters that have actually been attended to. So we'll continue to look at this to ensure that this beautiful tool, which is an app, it remains a credible, or one of the additional credible platform to ensure that reporting service delivery interruption is made easier. And just on your phone, at the button of your phone, you are able to ensure that you log service delivery interruption. You can even take a picture and load it, and that goes to our operations center, who will then dispatch an engineer to actually attend to that. Then we can track it. The mayoral committee can actually track how many instances have been reported, and how many instances have actually been attended to, and how much time have actually taken to actually attend to those instances. So if there's engineers and service delivery operators who are cheating the system, we will be able to pick them up, to through the regular reports that that we actually get, and we have to ensure that measures are taken if proven that engineers are trying to actually cheat the system.
Thank you, MMC. As we are closing now, we have taken all the questions that we can see. I know there's more that will come out of the engagement with the IDP and the budget. And we highlighted where you can literally put through what you can on your budget tips. The email is there to actually put in your inputs on that one. And we are mindful of the COVID regulations, and it is our new norm. And normally we'd have these meetings live. We would like to thank the business community, the residents of the city, councillors, senior officials for joining this meeting. And from here, the process is going to be the analysis of the inputs, and then going further, it will go further to council for the approval in May. So that's where this process will end, and then the implementation of the programs, of course. Thank you very much for joining. We understand the value of business to the city as well as the residents, and paying on time always assists and goes a long way. Thank you very much. The meeting is...
Okay. Thank you, Lesh. And your team. That team was collapsing in the first. Team is out of order.